Hello, everyone. My name is Michaela Robinette, and I am the resource specialist for the Farm and Ranch Stress Assistance Network here in North Carolina at the North Carolina Agromedicine Institute. Here at the Institute, we do a variety of programs and services for farmers, farm workers, and their families related to physical health and behavioral health, including respirator fit testing, health screenings, and providing and coordinating services to support and farm stress. My journey into the field was a little unconventional. So I did my undergrad degree in environmental science and pre-law, and then moved into a master's program where I studied rural sociology at Auburn University. And, throughout my educational career, I kind of always knew that I wanted to work a job that allowed me to serve farmers in their personal lives, but not necessarily their business lives, right? I wanted to help them as people, and didn't really know how that was going to turn out. I thought about being an extension agent, a teacher, and it wasn't until I got connected to the Agromedicine Institute that I knew exactly what I wanted to do with my career. My family has undergone several changes in our family's farming operation over the past few years, with the diagnosis of my granddad with Alzheimer's, and through that journey, I got connected to agromedicine and learning more ways about how we could support him living and going through this disease on the farm. And so, once I got connected to them, I realized this is the perfect connection for me, right? And so as the specialist for the Farm and Ranch Stress Assistance Network, my favorite part is getting to work with our farming families and their workers. I get to respond to the direct needs of their lives and ways that can support them, so that way they can then go on to support their farming operations. Farmers have the highest rate of suicide over any occupation. And so with that, my role is really getting to say, okay, what are the things that are causing them, to have those mental challenges, and then being able to actually put those into action for them and getting to make their lives better in some way. But the hardest part of this job, honestly, is having to navigate those big requests and those big needs over such a large and diverse population. Not every farmer is the same, not every farm family is the same. And so when we're taking a look at, okay, what's a program or a service that can serve a large population, right? It's very difficult to manage the individual nuances with the needs of a larger group. And so I just think that's a little bit challenging. It's not necessarily impossible. I feel like we do a really good job of getting it done as much as it can be. But it is just something that I have to take in consideration in my day-to-day. In terms of technical skills, abilities, and personal attributes that are essential to the success of my job and in this field, it's very important that I am seen as a trustworthy part of the larger support staff that help farmers every day. And I think myself coming from a farm family really helps establish that trust within our farming circles, where I can go into a room and say, yes, I know what you are going through because I've also gone through this in my own operation. So I think that helps a lot. And also an understanding of agriculture, right? And an understanding of what this looks like as a reality for them, and not just, assuming that, just because it's not necessarily, harvest season, that they're not also working hard in other areas. And so our farmers are always doing something. And so me having that understanding of agriculture really helps me in my day-to-day, because I can really understand what it is that the farmers are going through at specific times of the year. So yeah, definitely just to summarize that, there's not really necessarily any specific skills, right? Like I don't have to know how to do something on the farm, but I need to know, what it is that our farmers are doing in a broader sense. And so then in terms of transferable skills, this job requires a lot of organization techniques on our end. The North Carolina Agromedicine Institute serves all 100 counties of North Carolina, as well as the Cherokee Reservation. And there's only 7 of us on staff. And so we are all of the time traveling to different parts of the states, taking phone calls, trying to coordinate events. And so it really requires me to be very dedicated in my note taking and in my calendar keeping and maintaining my emails. So that way I just always am caught up on the conversation and responding to needs as they come into us. And so in that, some of that same line of things, to be successful in this industry, we were asked to be successful in the industry, should we encourage people to be specialist or generalist? And I say that it's almost better to be a generalist in this role. Going back to, it's not necessarily important for me to know specifically how to do legal consultations or financial consultations, or to be a behavioral health specialist, right? But it's important for me to know who those people are in a community and know what specific stressors farmers are experiencing and how, you know, each one of those key players could support that farmer. And so I always just go back to, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And if you can know and be connected to people who are specialists, that really helps serve me further in my role at the North Carolina Agromedicine Institute. And so we were also asked, what are some common misconceptions in this field of agromedicine? And I'm going to speak specifically on the farm stress piece of all of this, because that is what I'm most familiar with. I think some of our misconceptions is that there's a lot of stigma surrounding mental health in agriculture. And, we look at our farming populations and we would not assume that they have the highest rate of suicide. But, when I say that to people, and especially when I say it in agricultural populations, I'm almost immediately met with a story of someone who felt like they were going to complete suicide or knew somebody that died by suicide. And, it gets to be, very, very weird in the sense that, you know, nobody talks about this issue, right? But our farmers are very aware of this. They just don't know what to do about it. And so, there is this stigma of, we're just not going to talk about our mental health, and it's not important to us, and we can power through and we can rub some dirt on it. When in reality, our farmers know that there's a problem. They just don't have the tools, up until really recently, have the tools needed to address this for themselves. And so that's where, the Farm and Ranch Stress Assistance Program is so important, because we're giving farmers those tools that they need to really support themselves in their mental health. And so I'm really excited, to see where this goes, in the sense that I see the stigma changing very rapidly, and I'm really excited just to see how this impacts our farmers as we move forward. The next question on the list that I was given was to talk about AI. So artificial intelligence and other technologies are rapidly becoming more prevalent in our day-to-day, especially with tools like ChatGPT being so user-friendly. And I will say, I think I'm in the minority in the sense that I use artificial intelligence most every day in my job. And it makes me way more efficient in the work that I'm getting done. And it allows me to focus my energies on more important tasks. So like, for example, I have to send a social media post about a, suicide prevention training I'm teaching. And that's just an example. The mental energy and the time and it takes for me to write a Facebook post in a way that fits the algorithms needed, so that way Facebook and Instagram will push that to the top of people's feeds. It's just not something that I want or have the time to do in a day-to-day. That would take me, upwards of an hour to write it in a way that fits that algorithm. And so what I do is I just go to ChatGPT, tell it what I need to say, let it say it for me, and then I'll go back into the post and edit and put it in my own words in a way, but at least get a layout of something, right? And so that's just an example. So it takes the task that would normally take me about an hour, hour and a half on a really rough day, and moves it more into a 20-minute chunk. So then I'm able to use that leftover time to work on other projects. I think it's very important that we continue to stay on top of the technology, and be aware of things like plagiarism and things like incorrect information that can come out of AI. But if we use it in a way that's responsible, in a way that still uses our own unique voice, I do think that balance can be found. And I encourage people, once they've learned and mastered a tool that can then be done through AI, save yourself the time and energy. And I understand I might be in the minority in that answer, but I hope that kind of explains my feelings on the topic. Whenever I'm also talking, in addition to staying up to date on technology, I really think it's important for our students when thinking about pursuing careers, even not just within the agromedicine field, because that is a very niche field, but just in agriculture in general. I think it's very important to take every opportunity that you can to network, whether it is, within your FFA organizations, or you're meeting with your farm bureaus and your extension office staff. It is so cool as an adult now to look at people that I met when I was, 14, 15 years old at an FFA competition, and see them flowering in their own careers and in their own paths, and then being able to call them and say, hey, I think there's this really cool opportunity for collaboration. And so, I'm seeing people that I met years ago and now having the opportunity to work together in this space. And that wouldn't happen if I isolated myself into my own corner of the world and, said, yeah, I don't need to do this. I just got back from an agricultural conference in Washington, D.C. this past week. And, same thing, people that I had met when I was in college or first starting my career, I'm now getting to interact with on a much larger scale. And it's just so cool to see the growth. And then also in the same breath of that, and the networking side, and making friends with people, you really do have those cheerleaders and those people that whenever things get hard, you can bounce ideas off of, and they can encourage you. And so, having that circle is so important. I'm going to highly recommend that our students take that opportunity and take that time to make that a priority. In my current role, I do not interact with any of our hiring spaces. However, in terms of maintaining social media for people that are applying for jobs, I was always told never put anything on social media that can even be questioned. And it doesn't matter in what ways, just in what ways it could be questioned. But, if I was at a tailgate in college, I didn't drink in college, but I would make sure before I posted a picture, none of my friends we're drinking. Or, I don't make a lot of political tweets or Facebook posts or, post pictures of things that are questionable, just because I don't want to present that image of myself to the world. And so I will say it is everybody's personal opinion how much or how little they want to put on social media. I don't necessarily think that your social media being a reflection of you is a problem, however you want that to look like. But I would just recommend that our students just be aware that their digital footprint doesn't go away. And a tweet that you retweeted at 15 years old could come back to you as a grown adult. And we've seen it with celebrities, we've seen it with our own friend groups. And so just be really cautious about what it is that you're choosing to associate with your name. I'll say it like that. In this role, to perform at this job and advance in the company, do I need a degree or any certifications? So I do have a bachelor's and a master's degree, and I'm working on a PhD. But the position that I'm in currently was advertised as somebody with a bachelor's. I will say that in order to advance in this field of agromedicine, it is becoming common for people to have master's degrees. Honestly, I've seen more people have master's degrees that are my age than I think has ever been precedented. And so if college is not for you, don't feel, and what the job that you want to do doesn't require a official degree. College, that's okay. College does not have to be for everyone. But I will say that there is so much respect and so much reward for people that are lifelong learners, and whatever that looks like. If that is certifications, if that is taking a night class or two at a local community college, if that is going on to get your bachelor's, master's, PhD, law degrees, whatever that looks like for you, take advantage of that. Don't feel like once you're out of high school, the learning just stops, because there's so much more out there that is so crucial. And so, it's, again, just being a lifelong learner is probably one of the most rewarding things that you can do for yourself. In terms of hot career trends in the field, and is there an expected need for new employees over the next few years? I do think that the field of farm stress, while it's not necessarily a new topic, we are seeing a renewed need for applicants and for careers in the field. And so I will say that I think that even if it's not necessarily farm stress specific role, there is a need for agricultural support staff to have a background and understanding in agriculture. And so, I'm always pulling for behavioral health professionals, such as counselors and psychiatrists that have ag backgrounds. It's so crucial to who we serve, and they're not there. I'm always pulling for lawyers and from financial consultants that have ag background, and they're not there. And so, I think that as the field of farm stress progresses, hopefully, more people are coming up behind us that can speak the language of agriculture, but also within their own niche, their own niche career fields, because we can all serve ag and we can all be agricultural support staff. It just depends on our true area of interest. And so then what I would advise you to, as pursuing a career in agromedicine and ag support staff, is, again, going back to that whole networking piece, to never say no to an opportunity to engage with someone and to learn something new. Again, I can't say enough how awesome it's been in my career to be given an opportunity to become an instructor of a suicide prevention course, or to learn more about a new area of ag that I didn't have any knowledge of previously. And so taking the time to continue that learning and to say yes to opportunities has been very beneficial to me in getting me to the place that I'm at now. And then our final question is, has there been a person or people who influenced or impacted my career pathway? And I'm going to say that my family has been very influential in getting me to where I'm at. Again, I come from a century farm family where, we were historically a row crop operation, and then my parents transitioned to beef cattle about 25 years ago. And so we were in a weird position where we were established farmers because my grandparents had been farming for so long, and my mom grew up on a farm. But then they were also beginning farmers because we completely transitioned our operation. And so growing up and thinking about the careers that I wanted to have, I always just knew that whatever I wanted to do, I wanted to solve the problems for somebody else that were my parents' problems and were my grandparents' problems. And then looking at programming, looking at it through the lens of how would this have helped them, and how would this help, my best friend who's in her second year of a cut flower operation, or, my little brother who is going to take over our family's operation one day. And so looking at it from such a personal lens makes me in a way almost personally invested in the lives of all of the farmers that I serve and all of the programs that I could put forth. And so with that, I am always available to answer any questions or provide any further support. Especially, agromedicine is a very niche topic, and farm stress is so new in our conversations in agriculture. And so I have my contact information. My email is robinettm23@ecu.edu. You are also always welcome to visit the Farm and Ranch Stress Assistance Network of North Carolina's website, which is ncfarmstress.org. And with that, I hope that you all have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to hearing from you all soon. Thank you all.